Today I have a fireside chat with the amazing Alister Christie. You're most likely already familiar with him if you visited his YouTube channel. He has 12 years or 13 years worth of videos on here. 13 years worth of videos. And he was publishing them on his own website before YouTube was a thing. So he's got interviews, lots of introductory programming, how to do different things. There's even some great ones down here using different algorithms with playing cards, explaining it. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. His website is learndelphi.tv, where he has his movies are listed there, along with some other content you can get. And then he also has a Learn Big mega pack you can buy. His courses are available through Embarcadero Academy and through Udemy. He has 6 courses on Delphi development, 9 courses of Delphi development, and 1 course on making country wines available on Udemy. He also is writing a book. Let me scroll up to the top where the title is Code Faster in Delphi. Now, a number of times, Alister has had sessions at like Code Rage that were like 100 tips to be more productive in Delphi or something along those lines. And he is always full of great productivity tips. And he's decided to make them into 3 books. The first is Code Faster. The second one is Code Better. He's going to talk more about this in our session here, but I just want to show you real quick the table of contents here. Code editor, code form designer, customizing the IDE, walks you through building experts, understanding the RTL, tools and plugins. Just so much great stuff here. He sent me an early copy of this, but very exciting, and definitely recommend you stay tuned to learndelphi.tv to learn more about that. So now let's go ahead and jump into the fireside chat with Alister Christie.
Code Faster in Delphi, and it's got touch typing and all the hints about using the code editor.
Wow. Yeah, okay. I do remember you talking about this. Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yes. So, form designer, customizing the IDE. I even got writing an IDE plugin. This is a very, very basic one, which just disables the insert key.
Have you read the Pragmatic Programmer book?
Yes.
Yeah, so they just came out with the new 25th anniversary.
Yeah, I got the audiobook version of it.
Yeah, same here. And it had a section where it's talking about these are the things you have to be able to do really well in your IDE. And I was like, I need to make a blog post about how to do these, but here you got a book about it.
Yes, and it's quite a lot.
Yeah. So
I kind of some of the RTL and the parallel programming and read their expressions. It's RTI, FireDeck, and using plugins, so CN Wizards, Model Maker, GExperts.
Are you self-publishing this, or is it?
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be the plan.
Awesome.
I was looking at Kindle Direct publishing. Probably go with LeanPub.
Yeah. So Nick Hodges would love to talk to you and give you advice.
I have. I talked to them a few days ago, actually.
So cool.
So I've got an hour-long interview with him. Right. Yes. Yeah, I've got this book, and there's the sequel, Code Better in Delphi.
So you got Code Faster and then Code Better. Excellent.
Yeah, I haven't thought of a third one to make a trilogy, but maybe something like Better GUIs in Delphi or something like that.
Sure. I actually thought about doing a book of bad ideas in Delphi, and it wouldn't just be like anti-patterns, but the idea would be like, this is stuff you can do, but I wouldn't recommend the hacking your memory of your application, or just crazy some of the stuff that you can do in Delphi. So occasionally I get in trouble. Well, in trouble in quotes, but I've done some blog posts in the past that have been like, hey, here's how you can do, install both C++ and Delphi Starter Edition at the same time, which isn't supported. And I've had support say, hey, people are calling us and not being able to do this. And I'm like, and that's not technically supported. We're not supposed to do that. I'm like, oh, sorry. So I'm full of bad ideas. And so that would be the book I would write, probably. Yes. Bad ideas in Delphi.
Yeah. A debugging Code Rage video, I think it was, in Delphi. Mm-hmm. And it all sorts of crazy stuff about manipulating memory and stuff. I was quite impressed with that. It was beyond whatever I've never had to do anything to that level, but
So that could be your third book, though, is Code Worse in Delphi. I was thinking about it, and most of the time, I think most Delphi projects are really integrations. You know what I mean? They're not full projects. They're just integrating a few things together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quite often.
You're just, I'll use this component and this API, and you're done. And that's kind of the rad approach, right? Is this, you're just integrating some things together, and that's I think that's one of the problems people have, is that they learn that rad approach, right? And then they start building a really complex project that has like their own objects and stuff like that, and they don't apply a new architecture to that, right? So that could be your third book.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yes, I mean, I was just wondering, it'd be nice to have a book on the solid principles applied to Delphi and stuff like that. So, sort of, Uncle Bob's
clean code,
clean code, solid principles would be quite good, and just specifically tailored towards how they work with Delphi and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I did a webinar with the Apus game engine. I'm not sure if you saw that.
No, I haven't been keeping up with doing.
You're working on your book. That's fine. I understand.
Yeah. Oh, and interviewing people as well. That's the other.
That's true. You have been.
Yeah.
I've seen a number of those pop up. But he made this game engine. He made a couple games, Spectromancer, Astral Warriors, and a couple other games. And he kind of had developed this game engine internally that he's been using over the years. And so he did a Patreon project to open source his game engine. Like, if there's interest, I'll make my game engine available open source, put some polish on it, clean it up, add documentation, things like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I backed him on Patreon, got a hold of him, and asked him if he'd do a webinar. So he agreed to do that. And Frank Lauer, one of our MVPs as well, joined us to ask that, because he knows way more about game development than I do. I'm very armchair game development, and he's done some game stuff. And it was interesting because at one point someone asked something about, can you use this game engine to do this type of game? And he's like, well, yeah, but you'd have to, come up with your own collision detection and stuff like that. And then Frank said something I loved. He said, whenever somebody asks if you can do something with Delphi, he says the answer is yes. You could do whatever you want to with Delphi. It's just a matter of how much work you want to put to get to where you get to there.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed over the years the flexibility of just being able to get in there and do stuff and tend not to hit too many brick walls. And it's also a bit of a curse, because you tend not to go and explore other languages and things like that. You sort of just you can do that with Delphi, so do it in Delphi.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas something like, I don't know, Ruby or something like that, a scripting language might suit certain tasks.
It is interesting. So I've talked to a number of people that picked up Ruby. I looked at Ruby a little bit, and then
likewise.
It didn't do it for me. I mean, it did a little bit, but I talked to other people that were really into Ruby, and they said one thing about Ruby is it changed the way they thought about programming in general. And so learning Ruby made them a better developer in other languages they used predominantly, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. And it makes sense, is that when we learn a new language, we start thinking about things differently, and it gives us a different way to think about things. Not saying everybody should run out and learn Ruby, just as an example.
Indeed.
But interestingly, though, I just talked to, and his name's escaping me. He is a developer. He developed PyScripter, which is a really popular Python IDE. And it's been around for a while and still fairly popular. And I just did an interview with him the other day, and he was saying that, so it turns out he's an amateur developer. His primary job, he's an academic, teaches business administration or something along those lines.
Okay, that sounds completely irrelevant to, to programming.
And he was working with some program that was written in Delphi that had a plugin system that used Delphi, and he wanted to add scripting support. So you could have a scripting language you could use. And he started using ActiveScript, which is Microsoft's old, VB-based scripting language or whatever. And then that went away. And so he looked at Python and saw that, I can just do this, and I can import and give Python the ability to interact with Delphi. And so he built this plugin Python for Delphi that makes it so that Delphi and Python have this full bidirectional relationship. So you can build your form in Delphi, for example, and then put all the logic in Python, right?
Okay.
So you can write all that logic in Python, or vice versa. You could build your application in Delphi and like, oh, I want to use TensorFlow, right? So you could grab TensorFlow, which is a Python library, and just use it from Delphi as if it was a Delphi library. And you could, inherit from a TensorFlow object in Delphi, and it would all just be Python behind the scenes. I think
that sounds very powerful. I mean, Python is pretty popular in the sort of big data AI space.
Yep.
And I've been kind of thinking, I should probably spend some time learning that. But
so we're actually going to do some webinars together. I talked him into it.
Oh, that'll be good.
And we're going to do at least 2. One will be Python for Delphi developers, right? Which will be, hey, you're a Delphi developer. Here's how you can use Python for Delphi to add, TensorFlow or whatever to your Delphi application, big data processing to your Delphi application. And the other one will be Delphi for Python developers, where it'll be like, okay, so you're a Python developer and you want to build a GUI application. Here's how you can use Delphi to build your GUI and then consume that from Python to have a GUI for your Python application.
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Yes, I've certainly been falling behind in all the webinars and things that have been going on. There's usually quite a lot of interesting stuff happening at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, I am surprised. I mean, my job is doing that, but so often I fall behind too. I can't tell you how many times. I remember before I worked at Embarcadero, like Code Rage would roll around and, I'm trying to make time to watch Code Rage. I'm like, it'd be great if I worked there, then I could that would be my job, is to watch Code Rage. But now that I work here, it's like my job is to make sure Code Rage happens, and I don't even see it most of the time. I have to go back and watch it later still.
Yeah, even powering through stuff at double speed, that's still quite a lot. There's a lot of Delphi content out there now.
Yeah, there is.
On YouTube and what have you, and Embarcadero Academy and what have you.
So, and you have your LearnDelphi.tv content on Embarcadero Academy now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's been on there for a few years now. So that's Mike Swindell has been working on that.
And then you have a new course someplace on making wine too, right?
That's true. Yeah, I was meaning to create some vouchers or something like that so people could grab it for free. But it's on Udemy. I have my videos on Udemy as well, but their pricing is all weird, and they've changed it again recently. So I have no idea how their system works currently. But there are people still buying my videos there, so that's all good.
That's what I've heard is that Udemy, you don't really make a lot of money. I guess if you got really popular, you'd make some money on Udemy.
Some people make a lot. Yeah,
but you're generally not.
It's one of those nice snowball effects that, or first mover kind of things. That there's a small number of people that make all the money, and everyone else makes hardly anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I'm not sure how you. It's the same with YouTube, I guess. How you get to that sort of 1 million subscribers or whatever. I think it's like about almost 7,000 on YouTube at the moment, which is pretty small compared to to some.
I've a couple of times thought I had like a lot of subscribers on my personal YouTube channel, and I was talking to somebody, and then I go look, and it's like, oh, nope, not that. only a couple hundred.
Yeah. Look, I think I've got almost 2 million views. In total.
Wow!
But there's people with more subscribers than that. It's very crazy. It's sort of the power law. As distributions.
Yep.
So
they call it the long tail on the internet, right? Is it?
Yeah, indeed. It is very long.
Yeah. But you're still making the educational videos on your channel too. It seems like I just saw a new one the other day.
I haven't made any for a couple of months.
Okay.
I've been doing the interviews, and I've been doing
I've seen those interviews.
One or two of those a week.
Okay.
So I've done about 6 of them now, I think. So
Nice.
Hope to get a lot more. And they're kind of long format, so that, sort of an hour and a quarter or something like that in length, and it's just random. And I've kind of been using it as an opportunity to talk to authors and discuss how they've published their books and that kind of thing. So there's if you're interested in writing a Delphi book, then they're well worth watching, because you get a bit of inside information on that sort of thing.
Yeah. So let's get back to your books on Delphi.
Yes.
So you have your Code Faster in Delphi.
So I've actually been working on it for over a year now, because I had so many interruptions with getting it done. And
that's you've done like code rage sessions and stuff like that a number of times. I'm like, here's 100 tips on Delphi development, or
indeed.
You've researched this for years.
Yeah, there's lots in there. I mean, I've not been able to include everything. For instance, I haven't done components at all, which is a great way of saving time by reusing code and that kind of thing, and form inheritance and the sort of code repository thing, which I don't really use, and frames and that, all that kind of thing could also be included. But I've got to stop somewhere. It's sort of 140 A4 pages, so probably probably published on a slightly smaller format. So it might be a couple hundred pages or something, at 250 pages. Something along that line. So I was hoping to make it a small book, but it's kind of now a medium-sized sized book.
That's the thing about Delphi, though, is it is so massive anymore.
I was talking to Nick about it.
Yeah.
That if you go, like there's Marco's old books of mastering Delphi and what have you. They were quite comprehensive. Covered most of Delphi. And if you to do that, to write an equivalent book now, it would be thousands and thousands of pages long. It would be such an undertaking to write.
Yeah, and his books were like 500 pages or something like that.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so 400 to 600, that kind of range.
It's amazing how often, though, that I'll be talking with Marco or David Millington about Delphi, and there'll be something one of us will mention, or a customer will ask us, and all three of us will be like, Delphi does that? I didn't know about that. It's just it's so massive. It's just not possible for. I mean, even if you knew it at one point, at some point your brain's going to forget it, because there's just so much stuff.
Yeah, Delphi has so many keyboard shortcuts as well. I've got like 5 pages of them, and all the really obscure ones, related to code folding and things like that. There's a few that I came across that I thought I really need to memorize that, because that
reminds me. Actually, I was working with David. We were going to make a cheat sheet of keyboard shortcuts, but then got interrupted with something else. So.
I will probably produce that. I've just been wondering about. Certainly, there's the cheat sheets in the book. I'm wondering about producing a separate PDF to go on a wall or something like that.
Yeah.
Which should be a good possibility. So I think I've pretty much got all the keyboard shortcuts and descriptions of what they do. So a little paragraph for each one. But I'll definitely have electronic versions. I think ebooks are the way to go in many ways. I mean, they're significantly more environmental than chopping down trees and turning them into paper.
Yeah, I like being able to search across multiple books too for things.
Yeah, I mean, I do like owning books. I have to say, and my wife and I collect vast numbers. We have book shelves filled with books on various topics on, we're holding out for the apocalypse. For all books on ironworking and growing things, and just all sorts of ridiculous. Yeah, indeed. Certainly writing this book has reminded me a lot of things that I previously had forgotten about, and just learnt so much, new stuff.
Yeah.
In researching and just playing with the IDE and seeing what it does.
So this book, Code Faster in Delphi, you said it's almost done?
Yes.
So it'll be available soon. And now your next one, Code Better in Delphi, have you started on that yet, or where's that one at?
About halfway through the writing.
Okay, wow.
So what happened was one of my early people who volunteered to read over it. So I originally wrote a lot of stuff in preparation for ADUG in Australia, printed in ADUG, and I thought I had an hour and a half to speak, and turned out I had about an hour / 45 minutes on the two, so I pretty powered through. But I'd written about 100 pages of text for that. Well, not specifically for that. I was intending to write a book, and I'd been, but it was kind of an excuse to get some content written. And yeah, I was recommended by Shane. I can never remember his surname because it's quite complicated. But he recommended that I split it into 3, and I couldn't work out a nice thirds way of splitting it, so I did it into 2, which is the practices for being more productive and practices for writing better code using stack analysis and, for instance, or TDD.
Okay.
And things like that. I've probably forgotten half what's in it. But I haven't looked at it for.
I can't tell you how often
months and months.
I've tried. It's like I got to figure out how to do this, and I go look, and I did a webinar on this whole subject.
Yeah. I have to refer back to my own videos sometimes. It's
honestly,
yeah.
I need to look at like all the stuff I've made in like webinars and slide decks and blog posts. I bet you I could make a book out of that. There's always another thing to do. It's hard to do that.
Books take. I've discovered it takes a long time. The writing, getting that first draft. At that point, you're about halfway, and then just so much editing. And I have to say that the Delphi community is awesome. It's just fantastic. Everyone's so helpful.
Your comment about that you would love to just make Delphi books and videos and stuff like that, but didn't know if there's any market for it. Honestly, I think so. This is something I've observed over the years about myself and other people I've worked with inside the community and beyond, is that frequently you have somebody that knows the technical content really well, right? Delphi really well. And you make a book or you make whatever, but there's a separate set of skills around the marketing and the business administration and stuff. And so I think, honestly, if, and I may be wrong, but I think that if, somebody were to find somebody that knew the marketing and the business administration side and you work together, I think you could like really make a lot of money. But I talk to a lot of people. It's amazing how often I'll talk. I love our tech partners. I'm not trying to disparage any of them, but amazing how often I'll talk to a tech partner. And I'm like, I went to your webpage and it says last version of Delphi, it says you support is XE7. Do you still support customers asking about this? I'm like, oh yeah, we just released a new version yesterday. I'm like, I don't find this anywhere on your website. I'm like, oh, I haven't had time to update that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're not telling people that you're offering a product, they're not going to buy it, And so
yes, that's partly the problem I've had with the videos, that I've not been marketing them heavily, and it's something I need to change. I think books are a more profitable line of mechanism, because more people buy books than videos.
Cool. So people want to find your book, go to learndelphi.tv.
Yeah. It'll at some stage it'll be all over that.
Cool.
Hopefully, most likely it'll be published through LeanPub at this stage. They seem to have the sort of most generous author system, the royalties, and but that it's complicated by the fact they have their own Markdown language.
Oh,
and I have to convert the book potentially, or they do have. I could create EPUB, Mobi, and PDF versions of the book and upload them individually, but I'm not quite sure what the best strategy is in that respect. Having it in Markdown, you just have it in GitHub, and then they can pull from that to publish new editions if I make changes to it, and it automatically create new EPUBs and what have you.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do need
Okay.
to go. It's been great. Take care. Talk
Thank
to you
you
later.
very
And
much.
drop me a line when your book's done, and let's do a webinar or something around it. That
Yep,
would be
will do.
awesome. Cool.
I will do
Take
lots
care.
of stuff online for it. Cheers,
Take
Jim.
care.